Good day, everyone. My name is Micaela Digman, and we are the Group 4. Now we are going to discuss about gene therapy. In this report, we only have one objective, and that is to learn about how wide gene therapy could be. So, the following are the outline of this chapter. First is genes and human genome. Second is genetic disorders. There are in which there are two types: the single gene disorder and the chromosomal disorders. The third one is the gene therapy itself. Fourth one is the biotechnology. Fifth one is GMOs, or the genetically modified organisms. I hope you will have fun while listening to our report.
Genes and human genomes is a basic functional unit of heredity which is made up of DNA. Each person has two copies of genes inherited from each of their parents, according to Medline Plus 2021. Genome is a complete set of genes in a cell or organism. It consists of 22 pairs of chromosomes. DNA strand, however, when divided into portions, constitutes many genes. It is a long molecule that contains our unique genetic code. And lastly, chromosomes. It is a thread-like structures located inside a nucleus of an animal and plant cells, made up of protein and a single molecule of deoxyribonucleic acid or DNA.
Genetic disorders. These occur when a mutation affects your genes. And mutation means any change in genetic material. And these are the types of genetic disorders: single gene disorder, chromosomal disorder, complex disorders. A single gene disorder is caused by DNA changes or mutation in one particular gene and often have predictable inheritance patterns. Since only a single gene is involved, these disorders can be easily tracked through families, and the risk of them occurring in later generations can be predicted. And these were classified into autosomal and X-linked disorder. The autosomal gene disorder happens in genes that can be found within 22 pairs of non-sex chromosomes. Examples of autosomal gene disorder is sickle cell anemia, cystic fibrosis, and Tay-Sachs disease. Sickle cell anemia is a condition in which red blood cells are not shaped as they should be. Cystic fibrosis, or CF, is an inherited disorder that causes severe damage to the lungs, digestive system, and other organs in the body. Tay-Sachs disease is caused by the lack of an enzyme that aid in digestion of fatty food. And X-linked disorder originated from genes of sex chromosomes. And there are two kinds of X-linked disorder: the X-linked dominant disorder and X-linked recessive disorder. The X-linked dominant disorder refers to genetic conditions associated with mutation in genes on X chromosome. A single copy of mutation is enough to cause the disease in both males who have one X chromosomes and females who have two X chromosomes. And the X-linked recessive disorder most often occur in males because males have only one X chromosome, and that single recessive gene on that X chromosome will cause the disease. Examples of X-linked disorder is Duchenne muscular dystrophy, or DMD, hemophilia, and color blindness. And the next is chromosomal disorders. This might be an excess or deficiency of the whole chromosome, chromosomal rearrangement, and contagious gene syndrome. A set of chromosomes as seen under a microscope is known as karyotype. Any deviation from the normal karyotype is known as chromosome abnormality. Examples of chromosomal disorder are Klinefelter syndrome abnormalities is XXY, Turner syndrome abnormalities monosomy X, Down syndrome abnormalities is the trisomy 21, and Patau syndrome abnormalities is the trisomy 13, and Edwards syndrome abnormalities trisomy 18. The Klinefelter syndrome born with an extra X chromosome Instead of typical XY chromosomes in men, they have XXY. So this condition is sometimes called XXY syndrome, and there's no cure, but it can be treated. And the Turner syndrome is 1 over 5,000 females, gonadal dysgenesis, the disappearance of eggs, sexual immaturity, short stature, inferiority, short stature, somatic abnormalities, something wrong with the second X is some cells. The Down syndrome occurs because of the extra copy of chromosome 21, which can cause the body and brain to develop differently than a child without the syndrome. And this is one of the most common genetic birth defects. Patau syndrome, caused by having an additional copy of chromosome 13 in some or all of the body cell. A baby with Patau syndrome has 3 copies of chromosome 13 instead of 2. Edwards syndrome occurs because of the extra copy of chromosome 21, which can cause the body and brain to develop differently than a child without the syndrome, one of the most common genetic birth defects. And next is a multifactorial inheritance, also known as complex or polygenic inheritance, caused by a combination of environmental factors and mutation in multiple genes. Example of multifactorial inheritance is high blood pressure, Alzheimer's disease, arthritis, diabetes, cancer, obesity, and heart disease. High blood pressure is a common condition in which the long-term force of the blood against your artery walls is high enough that it may eventually cause health problems such as heart disease. Alzheimer's disease is a progressive neurologic disorder that causes the brain to shrink and brain cells to die. Arthritis is a swelling and tenderness of one or more joints. Diabetes is a chronic, long-lasting health condition that affects how your body turns food into energy. Neurologic disorder that causes the brain to shrink and brain cells to die. Cancer, a term for disease in which abnormal cells divide without control and can invade nearby tissues. Obesity, a complex disease involving an excessive amount of body fat. Obesity increases the risk of acquiring disease and other health problems. And lastly, heart disease. This is a type of disease that affects the heart of blood vessels.
Gene therapy. Did we know what is gene therapy? So the gene therapy is a method of treating or preventing diseases by replacing, repairing, or returning on or off genes of a patient's cells. Also, the process includes the use of vectors, a non-viral method, to move a DNA or genes to one cell or another. So now, we know what is gene therapy. Let's proceed to the types of gene therapy. First is the somatic gene therapy. Somatic gene therapy is the introduction of genes to cells in a target organ to reproduce enzymes that are needed by the body to function well. It doesn't alter the genetic makeup of an organism. Also, the somatic gene therapy has two types, the ex vivo and in vivo. The in vivo, it is the injection of viral and non-viral vectors containing therapeutic elements, so in vivo enter inside the body of the patient and it comes that the ex vivo take their parts. Step 1 of it is the removal of the cells inside the body. The step 2 is the correction of cells of a person, and the third step is the autologous transplantation. The second type of gene therapy is reproductive gene therapy. Reproductive gene therapy is the introduction of correlative genes to sperm cells, egg cells, or even zygotes. The main goal of this therapy is to eliminate the abnormalities that can possibly be transmitted to the offspring. Also, it was alteration of the genetic makeup of the offspring by targeting the abnormal genes in the parents' sex cells. let's proceed to the benefits of gene therapy. Gene therapy cures several diseases like cancer, Parkinson's disease, AIDS, asthma, diabetes, heart diseases, as well as hereditary diseases. Also, gene therapy can replace defective cells. Gene therapy has a promising potential not only in the field of medicine but in some related fields like agriculture. So this was the advantages or the benefits of gene therapy. If there's an advantage, there is also a disadvantage of gene therapy. First, modifying organisms means modifying its capabilities. Second, the viral vectors could recover its ability to cause disease. Third, it can damage the gene pool, resulting to multi-gene disorder. And fourth, gene therapy is expensive because you need a big amount of money. And last is the ethical issues of a gene therapy.
So now let's all proceed to the study of biotechnology. Biotechnology refers to the use of biological systems, living organisms, or derivatives thereof to make or modify products or processes for a specific use. So it requires genetic engineering. Genetic engineering is a technique that allows genes and DNA to be transferred from one source to another, leading to the production of living modified organisms or LMOs, or genetically modified organisms or GMOs. So here the following are the genetically modified organisms or GMOs. So these are plant, animal, microorganism, or other microorganisms whose genetic makeup has been modified using recombinant DNA methods. So the examples are potato, golden rice, soybean, corn, papaya, summer squash, and sugar beet. And those are for the plant. And there are also 3 examples for the animals. There are pigs, goats, and mouse. So mouse is the first genetically modified organism. It is headed by Mr. Rudolf Janisch, year 1983. So yeah, mouse is the first GMO. And also, here are the potential risks of GMO. So, first is inadequate studies on the effects of GMO to humans and the environment. Next is it promotes mutations in organisms, which the long-term effects are still unknown. Third one is human consumption of GMO might have the following effects. So, more allergic reactions, gene mutation, antibiotic resistance, and change in nutritional value. So it may have caused a decline in the nutritional value of foods. So if there are risks, there are also benefits. So the following are the benefits of genetically modified organisms. So higher efficiency in farming, increase in harvest, increase in food, nutritional and pharmaceutical enhancement, control in fertility, and improvement of desirable characteristics. So, yeah, these 6 are the benefits of GMO. So, therefore, GMOs are really helping us in terms of production because it leads to bigger production. Now let's all proceed to the summary of this entire report. Therefore, this is the summary of our study. Basically, gene therapy covers the study of gene and human genome, genetic disorders, genetic therapy itself, biotechnology, and GMO, or the genetically modified organisms. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you all had fun and I hope you learned a lot from our report. Again, we are BECE 1, Group 4. Thank you so much.